Are you addicted to being entertained? We all experience constant distractions and ways that we keep ourselves busy in our daily lives. Imagine if you could press the mute button on life's chaos and tune in to a higher frequency of clarity, where the answers you seek are no longer whispers, but clear, resonant truths. Welcome back. I'm Jill Collins, and today we're rediscovering the power of silence with a practice that has been a well-kept secret for inner peace. And for that, I'm joined today by the wonderful Laurie Lewis. She's a wellness coach and intermittent fasting expert dedicated to guiding individuals to exceptional self-care. You'll hear from both of us about our Vipassana experiences, me being a first-timer and Laurie having attended 5 Vipassana retreats. So whether you're battling indecision, looking for a fresh perspective, or simply seeking a deep cleanse from the constant noise, this is where you'll learn how anyone, including you, can embark on this life-altering experience. From what to expect on a 10-day silent meditation retreat to the transformative effects on your daily life, we'll dive into how Vipassana could be that mental reset, the dopamine detox, and the key to navigating midlife with newfound clarity and purpose. Let's dive in.
I didn't do any preparation other than going there. People were like, well, what are you going to do? I'm like, the point is to just get quiet and be with yourself. There are no books and no yoga and no reading and no journaling and no writing. People used to go to these things to carve out as little time as possible to learn how to be a daily meditator. You give yourself 10 plus days of space and being with yourself and being quiet. And all of a sudden, all these things that I thought I was obligated to be and do, I could see that I didn't.
Welcome back, everyone. We're here once again at Jill Collins Connections. I have, once again, Laurie Lewis with us today. Laurie is an intermittent fasting expert and wellness coach. And we had her on last week, and that was a great interview. So definitely check that one out. But I'm going to tell you today, we are here to talk about Vipassana. It is a 10-day silent meditation retreat that we've both attended. So you're going to get a really unique perspective from 2 midlife women. One, me, a first-timer, and Laurie, a 5-timer. So we're going to dive in and we're going to talk about a few things that we've experienced and just walk you through a little bit of what it's actually like, and also some of the things that we experienced ourselves. So Laurie, I'd love to hear your perspective on that, and then we'll start it with a few questions and kick this around a little bit.
I love this. We are, we're 2 women. I'm 61. I first went to Vipassana when I was 49. And we're not experts. We're not Buddhist scholars. We're not meditation gurus. We're 2 people who went to this 10-day silent thing and are pretty ecstatic about it. And it's really fun to have the opportunity to share with listeners and share with you my experience. And it's going to be a fun conversation. Thank you.
I'm so excited too. Coming out of that a few weeks ago, I tell you, it was a challenge for me, but I think at the end I am so glad I went. And we'll go into more detail about our experiences and some of our not pitfalls, but our challenges and wins along the way. But I'd love to know what really it motivated. Now, you were how old when you first went?
49.
49, and I was 52. Actually, on the day I left, I turned 53. So I'm saying this is like a really something that occurred to me. I saw a lot of younger women there, but what really occurred to me is just what a quick way this is to realign and to just, of all of the personal development work I've done, all the things that I've experienced, it's taken, this sometimes takes years to overcome things. And we just always feel like we're never quite fixed if we aren't broken, by the way. We learned this, but in 10 days, how much I realigned and how much I got out of this. And we'll go into more detail in a second, but I'd love to know what motivated you to attend your first event.
I was really struggling. 49 is the point in most women's lives when we're we're going through perimenopause and turning a corner, going through this big hormonal chaos and transition, and whatever we've been doing up until now kind of comes into question, into focus or foggy. I mean, it's really a time. And I remember waking up in December, and the first thought I had was, it was really strong. It was like a voice said, remember that 10-day silent thing? You should do that now. So I was like, I didn't even remember what it was called. I had for years, I feel like at least 20 years, I'd heard kind of woven through my life of people that go to, there are 120 approximately Vipassana centers around the world. And So I knew people, but I couldn't remember who those people were. I couldn't remember what it was called. So I just Googled 10-day silent meditation. And I lived in New York City at the time. And so up popped the closest one. And I just immediately, I was like, well, I guess it's time to do that. And I got on a waiting list, and then there was a spot available. And I got on a bus in New York and went up to Massachusetts. And, they could say it's 10 days, but it's kind of more than that. It's like 11 or 11 and a half or something.
Right. I know. I counted that too. I was like, oh, it's not 10 days, people, but yeah.
There's a little on either end.
Yes, there's that afternoon you arrive that doesn't count. That's day 0, and then there's day 12. Like our day, if you call that 0, then a day 11 is the morning you leave. So it's like there's 10 full days, 11 nights, and then the morning you leave. Yeah,
so that's how I got there.
That's how you got there. I was motivated by. I really didn't even. Someone told me about it. A friend of mine, Philip, and we were on a Zoom call, and he just said, I just finished this great retreat. It was a 10-day silent meditation retreat. And I said, well, really? And I said, what is it? And he told me, and he didn't tell me anything really. And he said, here's the link, and he dropped it in the chat. And I clicked on it. I'm like, oh, and I saw that there was one there are 2 centers in Argentina where I am right now. And one's outside of Buenos Aires. And I'm thinking, so I'm one of these people. I don't sit there and do all the research up front. I'm kind of pull the trigger and figure out how to do it later. So that's exactly what I did. And so I was on a wait list, and I went, okay, all right. I did my part, God, universe. I signed up, all's well. So 2 months went by. I didn't hear anything, forgot about it. And then about 2 weeks before it was supposed to start, I got an email saying they've had openings. And if I want to do it, I should respond. They're sending this to several people. So respond within the next 24 or 48 hours. And I'm like, oh, I'm like, okay. I'm like shaking. I'm practically in tears. I don't know why, but I think my ego was literally going like, no. But my soul was going, I kept saying, I can't see myself not doing this. That makes sense. It's like, there's no way you're not going, but you got to just say yes to it. You know what I mean? It's hard to explain. It was so weird. But
all of this is hard to explain.
I hope you're enjoying today's episode. And if you are, consider subscribing. 93% of you that listen to this podcast regularly have not yet subscribed. If you like this channel, can you do me a quick favor and hit the subscribe button? It helps this channel more than you know. And the bigger the channel gets, the bigger the guests get. Thank you. Yes. So if you're interested in going to a Vipassana, this is the reason we're really doing it. If you're curious and you really want to jumpstart, it's just, to me, it was a faster, I didn't know this, but I can look back and say it was a fast track to really cut through so many years of things that would have taken years for me to do other programs or therapy that I got so many things accomplished, or just things rewired in me. But going back. So I just pulled the trigger and I went. I said yes. And then I said, figure it out later. And then I started watching videos, and I'm like, whoa, okay, that was probably not the best thing to do. But at the same time, we want to give you a perspective on really, really what it is. So you heard about it, and you said that 10-day silent meditation.
10-day silent thing. You should do that now.
Yeah, we're definitely not Buddhists. That's not how Buddha would say that. but we get it. We get channeled in our way. Right? That's how we do it. So I'd love to know, how did you personally prepare mentally and physically? You just pretty much just.
Well, I registered, and then there was a slot for me, and it was other people who were saying, well, what do you have to do to prepare? And I'm like, I think you just show up. Yeah. And that was in fact true. So you do not need to practice anything or learn anything. The reason it's 10 days is they figured out how to condense as much as possible. People used to go to these things for 3 months, 6 months, what have you. And so to make it possible for people in modern times and to carve out as little time as possible to learn how to be a daily meditator and go through all the spaces and get all these benefits. The shortest amount of time they figured out was 10 days. So you just show up, and, there's a packing list, and each place is probably a little bit different. You show up in the evening of a Wednesday, and then you have a meal with your fellow meditators, and you can talk. And then that first time that you walk into the meditation room that evening, it's silent from that point onward. And so, no, I didn't do any preparation other than going there.
Yeah. And for me, I think this is important to note that even if you've never meditated before in your life, you can do it. It doesn't
This is the
require,
place to learn it. Yeah.
yes, absolutely. So this is really key. I'm glad you described it that way. So your first impressions when you arrived at your facility in Massachusetts, what were they?
It was warm and from that first time I pulled in the driveway, it felt lovely. And now when I go back, I've only gone there. And now I live on the West Coast and I still go back there. It feels like going home. And I look at all the other ones here on the West Coast. I think, oh, that would be nice. Maybe I should go there. But then I go back to Massachusetts. It's a beautiful facility. And it feels like a warm, cozy house with very warm, friendly people. And yeah, and the food is delicious. And I just thought, well, I'm just going to learn. I'm just going to follow their directions. I'm a rule follower. So just,
Oh,
yeah,
okay. Well,
and
I'm not usually,
expect the
I'm
best.
better. I'm better at following rules than I used to be, but I still tend to buck them a few once in a while. But I think it's so cool. My perspective, my perception, and like you said, every retreat center is different. I did mine
Mhm.
in Branson, in Argentina, outside of Buenos Aires, and I'm not a big nature girl, as I say. I mean, I like the ocean, but like the woods and that kind of thing, and the country is not necessarily my thing. But when I arrived, it was raining and muddy, and we had a road to drive down that my driver took me, and we we arrived, and I think I was early, and so I was one of the first people there. And so I was one of the few English speak or maybe the only English speaker. Most everyone else was speaking Spanish, but they offered it in 2 languages. And I might also add, by the way, that this is a completely free program. They do not charge for this. And you have the option to donate if you'd like at the end, and you can sign up to support and serve future events or the facilities. But they house you, they feed you, they teach. No one is paid to do this. It is completely voluntary. Um, but when I arrived, I was a little nervous because I was looking at everything and I'm like, okay, you got this. This is good. You can do this. I made the mistake because I had my packing list and I was reading through it and I'm going, okay, so it says to bring sheets, um, or a sleeping bag and pillowcases. And I was like, a sleeping bag. So I'm like, it's going to be cold. I'm usually cold. So I packed in my house here. I don't really have like just simple blankets. I had this from another bed, an old bed. I had a duvet of like a goose down duvet with a zipper cover. And here, the housekeepers, they always iron everything. So my sheets are ironed. And this is normal here. This is everywhere. It doesn't really matter where you live, but it was so funny. So I thought, okay, well, I'll just throw that in. It'll be nice and warm. So my bed looked like I was staying at like the Four Seasons. I mean, it was so bad. I'm so
Yes.
embarrassed. And I wanted to they had these curtains for the doors. And I was like, for our rooms, I had a private room in this facility, had private rooms for women. And so I kept wanting to keep the curtains closed because I was just so embarrassed by it. But I will
God.
tell I look forward to that bed every night because it was so comfortable. Yeah, I
Yes.
mean, 1,200 bread count sheets. But I think of first impressions arriving, I was a little nervous, but, you know, the hard part wasn't really, like, turning off the phone. You turn your phone. Let's be clear on this. This is one of the things you do is you do take they take all of your electronic devices if you bring any. And so they give you a bag with your number on it, and then they will give it to you at the end. So you go 10 days with no communication with the outside world, or 11, 12,
Yeah. And
whatever.
there's an emergency phone number. And so
Yeah.
your
Yeah,
people can reach you if there's something important. Yeah.
absolutely. So I was okay with that. And the food, I agree. It was all vegetarian. And I'm not used to eating vegetarian. But I was fine with it. I think we talked about intermittent fasting last week, and I intermittent fast, but I have my window usually towards the end of the day. And do you want
Mhm.
to talk about the timing and the food, the way they do the food? You're probably have more understanding of that than I do.
Yeah. The daily schedule is alarming. I think that was one of the more shocking things when I looked at what to expect when I arrived. And it's like, oh, the morning bell is at 4:20. That's whoa, that's rough. That's probably my biggest challenge. Not talking or being silent for 10 days didn't seem hard to me, and putting my phone away didn't seem hard to me. Um, it was that early morning wake up, and then you go into an early morning meditation, and then breakfast is, I think, around 6:30.
Yep.
And then there's more meditation. And then the lunch, the midday main meal is at 11. And so, and then in the afternoon for people who are there for the first time, there is an afternoon snack. But once you become what they call an old student, after your first time, then you do not partake in that afternoon snack. And so your eating window really is from 6:30 to 11:30. And but the food is abundant and delicious. So I mean,
Yeah.
I really appreciated the variety. And y- so yeah, I had no trouble with the food at all.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed it, actually.
Yeah, I enjoyed the variety and also just the change in the schedule. The 4 a.m. didn't bother me so much to wake up, but I think it was just, I mean, I just pulled this out. This is all folded and beaten up because literally I carried this in my pocket constantly because I'm like, okay, what's next? And because there's
I
nothing to
love
do,
that.
just have to.
Right.
So this thing, so I was like, okay, let's see, 30 minutes to the okay, we have an hour break. Okay, so meditation is an hour and a half. And I mean, I have it memorized now, but I mean, it's just it was like that whole thing. And so the meals became kind of like it was like we looked forward to every little like thing on the schedule. Okay, what's next? What's next? It was sort of just something to keep the brain kind of occupied.
Well,
Like,
I think
right.
that is the most interesting first thing to notice for me is how much I wanted to keep my mind occupied. And before I went, people were like, "Oh, that sounds great. If you're going to be quiet, you're going to get some good reading done and some good journaling and a lot of yoga." And I'm like, "Yeah, I don't think so. I think it's just meditation and then some meals and then some sleeping. And
Mhm.
there are no
Clean.
books and no yoga and no reading and no journaling and no writing." And people were like, "Well, what are you going to do?" I'm like, "The point is to just get quiet and be with yourself." And so one of the first things I noticed was how urgently I wanted to find things to observe or think about. Like you just said, oh, okay, in 1 hour, like thinking ahead. And the how it wasn't hard to not talk. It
No,
was
that was easy to me too. And the phone didn't bother me.
interesting. No, it was just interesting to notice how much my mind wanted to be occupied and entertained. And so that was like step one of what am I doing with myself?
I will tell you, that was the same thing for me. I think it's everybody. It's just realizing looking for distractions, looking for something to occupy the mind.
Constant.
It was, yeah, I used to say when it was before 5 o'clock, because I did get the fruit, the first time students you get a piece of fruit and tea. I think the returning students, old students get just tea. And I
Right.
was like, oh, 30 minutes to apple time. All right, good. You know, um, but I will tell you, it is fascinating how our brains can entertain us. I mean, I was creating stories. I was thinking about like ideas I had, but this is so true. You can't bring journals and you can't you cannot write anything down. And I thought, okay, I had a pencil in I was like digging through my purse looking for something to play with. I
You
couldn't
little
find
rule breaker.
there's my rule breaker. Okay. So everybody knows, I know the people in Branson are going to watch and Jonathan, the manager there, he'll know the truth. But I was sitting there and I printed out the directions, and I brought all these papers with me and I thought, okay, I just threw them in my suitcase. And so then, I'm like, oh, I want to write a note down about how my first meditation. I'm like, shoot, everything's printed double sided. I have no paper. So then I had one page and I wrote all 10 days in like really tiny print and pencil from my purse. And I'm just writing. And at one point, I think on the ninth day, the manager of the center or the women, I was so quiet in the dorm room the dorm hall that she could hear the pencil on my paper as she walked by.
That is hilarious.
And she goes, Gilles, she goes, no, no puedes escrita. No, es para vos, no es para nosotros. It's not, she said, you can't write. It's not for us, it's for you.
Yes.
And I'm like, oh, sorry. And I'm like, okay, I was done with my thought anyway. But the point is like I was writing and then I was sitting there taking the English version and I had a Spanish translate version and I started to write words I didn't know just to do something. And this is the document I printed, which is like 6 pages. It's the introduction to the technique. And I had that printed. I am telling you, just to keep myself occupied, I read this probably 50 times because you're just sitting there on your bed and you're like, I got nothing to do. There's nothing. But that's the fascination is that
That's right.
I realized how quickly, even cleaning something or straightening up something in the room, or I'm noticing that that pillow is crooked, whatever. We will find ways to avoid tapping within. And I want to say this real quick before I forget is that Vipassana, the work, is actually a way to, it's the opportunity to tap into the subconscious.
That's
That's what
right.
this work is. I should have said that at the beginning, but is that this is where it's different. Everything I've done in personal development and everything else is is cognitive. It's the conscious mind. It's creating ways, hacks, routines, disciplines, understanding and awareness in our thoughts. And this is different. This is actually going into the root, deep inside, the things that we don't even understand are there. And that's something that when we totally have nothing else to look at or work on, that's when the ego starts to get a little pissed off and it goes, oh, well, you know what? You remember that song from 30 years ago in church? This was a good song. Let's play this. And I've got songs going in my head. I'm thinking Michael Beckwith. I'm hearing all these songs. I'm hearing his voice, all my needs are met. I'm loved unconditionally. I'm hearing, like, I'm entertaining myself in my head. I've got sermons going. I've got all kinds of just everything I could think
I
of.
painted rooms in my head. I redecorated everything. I mean, I heard songs from junior high. I mean, it was like until you start getting where the stuff is packed in there, stuffed down, not dealt with, and then you just get all that out, and then it gets quiet.
Yeah. And I've done Dr. Joe Dispenza meditation. I've done 3 of his retreats, and I've done a lot of different meditation work over the past few years. And where this is different, and what they suggest, or they say, not suggest, they tell you this is the way to do it is don't incorporate or mix any other practices that you're currently doing with
Correct.
this. They said give this a try and just stick with just what we're doing for now. And that's when you said there's no exercise. They do have a walking trail and you can walk, but they want you to suspend any running or any yoga or any other practices for that 10 days. And the other thing is, like, with most meditations I've ever done, they've always had some kind of guided process. There's a voice going, or there's music, if nothing else, or there's chanting. And this is complete silence. And so I'm thinking, okay. So the first 2 days, my brain was just, like I said, I'm doing all that stuff, oh, you're great. This is gonna be awesome. You're going to be able to do something great with this. This is going to make you so good, Jill. Wow. Look at what you're going to be able to, whatever. And then after 2 days, I kind of, because the first, okay, let me go back to what I was saying. Sorry, my ADD brain is kicking in here. Is that because they say when you have something like music or a chant or anything else or a word you focus on, an intention or a mantra, is that you are focused on that. You're not focused
Correct.
with. And I went, ooh, that's pretty interesting. I've never heard that
Mhm.
before.
Yeah, I loved that. And the way they start the teaching is you get present to your breathing and the very, very subtle, soft feeling on this little part between your nose and your lip. And so then once you're present
Well, you
to that,
focus with the nose. You focus with the
yep,
air in the nose first, right? For the
yep,
first 2 days, and then they go to the lip.
yep. And then very, very subtle sensations. And then we start scanning and start at the top of the head. And as slowly as possible, feel every single part of your body. And for me, the practice was to go so slowly and to feel the sensations. And rather than focusing, as you said, on an external mantra or color or god or goddess or, something external, that the mind body connection is getting, um, I don't even know what or present to the mind body connection when we're focused on the sensations of the body and how much we want to cling to the things that feel great and push away the things that do not. We want any pain in our back or our hip or our foot or our, we want it to stop. And we want all the things that feel good, more of that. Yes, please. And so for me, I spent a lot of time thinking about how much I was wishing, and throughout my life, how much I wish for more of the good things and less of the bad things, as opposed to this experience of being equanimous, being settled, grounded, peaceful with whatever's happening for me, to me, around me. And oh, one of the things that you said that I wanted to explain to whoever's listening is you said that you don't speak Spanish, or you might have been the only English. So if it's fully silent, why would that matter? Well, at the end of each day, so the way the day goes is you wake up super early, then you have that morning meditation, then you have breakfast, and you have more meditation, then you have lunch, and you have more meditation. And then at the end of the day, after that, as you called it, the apple snack, fruit and a tea, um, and more meditation, then there is an evening talk, if you will. And so in that talk, you're learning more about what to focus on for the next day and the next teachings, the next day's teachings. So for me, the biggest teaching that I'm left with is how to be with whatever's happening in life in a gentle, peaceful, non-reactionary, non-clinging, non-aversion way.
Mm. That's your biggest takeaway. Wow. I love that. I love that. I think for me, I saw so many, the first several, I think it's just being my first one. I have to imagine the first one is the most challenging. Can I ask you that?
Not for me. No,
It wasn't?
no. Yeah.
I've only done one, so I wouldn't have anything to compare to. But I would say that the struggle for me was um, I'd have a good day and I'd have a bad day. And it was the first several days, I was just seeing my entire life flashing before me in images and memories of
Yes.
so many memories of my late husband and I when we were traveling, or just great things that we did. And something that occurred to me was just um, how many times I have a good experience in life, and I can't reflect back on it because it's sad to me, because
Mm,
I don't have it anymore. So all of those thoughts, all of those experiences, all of those times, those moments together were just excruciating to see. And I got to a point probably about the fourth or fifth day where I wanted to just be in meditation because I didn't want to think anymore. And I just wanted to scan. And
mm,
because every time I'd go back and I'd have that time in the room alone, I would look out the window and something would remind me of something, or I would look at my bed and I'd say, "Oh, this was these. We actually bought this bedding together. Oh, he was always so good about providing nice things for us, or all these just things."
mm,
And I just saw everything is so sad. And I thought to myself, I'm a pretty happy person. All this stuff's coming up. So I think for me, the biggest thing that's really stuck and really rewired in me is and I thought I dealt with a lot of this, but I think I really did a lot of grieving and healing that I didn't know even needed to be healed. Um, and I would say another moment, I think I told you this when we talked before a couple weeks ago. Um, I wanted to leave so many times. This was probably the hardest of all that I've done Tony Robbins events, where you just are really, you're just challenging yourself and pushing yourself, skydiving, all these different things physically and mentally. And this was the hardest thing that I can think of that I've done, is that there's no way out. And it feels a little bit like a self-imposed prison, honestly. But and
mm.
everybody's, one thing that's really clear, they say, is don't take whatever we're saying as how your experience is going to go. They don't tell you what to expect. They don't give you an
Correct.
outcome of what you're going to get, because it's uniquely you. And if I remember Gwenka saying many times, is that in the end, you will know the truth. And it's the truth being who you really are, because
Mm,
this inner subconscious and the tying into all of this with our sensations, the physical sensations in our body, are just, that's where everything lives. And I on believe it or not, on day 10, we did know that we were going to be able to talk to each other. So I thought, okay, you just get through day 9. And I remember every day walking into the dining room, and they'd have day 2, day 3. I'm like, holy crap. And, I'm like, "You can do it. You can do it." And the key is I told so many people I was doing it, so I was so glad I did that, because I didn't wanna, like, have to go back and say, "Oh, I didn't finish it." But by day 7, I was listening to the disc. That was good. It's like they say in Landmark Forum, you have to enroll people, so it's accountability. It was great. But the day 7, we had a discourse that night. I was sitting and watching this, And he was saying some things that I just didn't agree with. And I was really pissed off. And I just hit a limit. And I said, at one point, I just looked at the guy who was administering the English video in the room I was in. And I said, I want my phone. I'm leaving. Not, hi, how are you? Oh, yeah, whisper, because you don't talk. That's the only time you get to talk is so you can talk to the teacher or you can talk to the
Right.
support staff if you need something. And it's a whisper. And you can't make any gestures. That was another thing. You can't make any gestures or eye contact either. It's not just no talking. But so I said, I want my phone. And he went like this. And he got up and he walked out. And a couple minutes later, he came back. He said, someone's coming that is authorized. I'm not authorized to do anything. So this man came in. I didn't know who he was. I don't remember seeing him before. And he spoke to me in English. And he said, I understand you want to leave. And I said, yes. He said, would you like to talk first? And I said, yes. Let me tell you, during that few minutes between when that guy showed up and when I said, I want my phone, and that guy left, the other guy left, I sat there and I said, God, I really didn't want to do that. It's
Mm.
already 7. And I said, Jill, do you notice how many times you do this a lot in life? You snap and you make a decision or you react in such a way that it's too late sometimes. Notice how you do this. And I said, maybe. And I kind of secretly was in my mind thinking, I hope they don't just bring me my phone. I hope they ask me to talk. And he did.
It's incredible.
And so when he had asked me that, I said, yes, we went to a room and I said, I said, look, I've been feeling for the sensations for, doing the sensation thing for 3 days. And I said, I'm feeling the same sensations. I said, honestly, I'm bored. I'm frustrated. And I said, and I just don't get it. I said, what is the point? I'm a high D in the disc profile. So I'm like, give me the point, just get to the point. And I was like, and I was being really patient with myself. But at some point I just said, you know what? I'm feeling the same sensations. Okay. Get a little bit of a tingle here once in a while. We want to scratch it. Like that's the sensations you start to feel in the beginning, a surface level sensation
Mhm.
only. And he explained to me, he said, look, this video was made many years ago. He's a man. He's just like us. He said, no one's perfect. He said, I understand. He said, but you're doing great. And he didn't know who I was, but he said, you're doing great. And for some reason I believed him because I needed to be heard. I guess I just needed to be told, have someone tell me you're okay. I don't know what it was, but he said to me, he said, sometimes when we react, he said, there's no one else to blame but the video. Maybe he told me this later, but he said, the only person, you weren't talking to anyone. Nothing else is happening in here. You're not having any contact or anything's going on. So the only thing I could blame was the video and what he said to try to find a way to, the ego was
A
fighting. And that was
reason. Yeah.
the way out, a reason. And so I thought that was good. But I think that takeaway for me was how I react and I snap. And he said, long and short is he said, oh, I know. Before that, I said, well, what's the deal? Like, what's the outcome here? What are we going to be experiencing? Like, he said, everyone's different. He said, just if you stay with it longer, you will start to notice more things. And at one point I said, well, are you saying that when I have a feeling in my body, because I said, oh, I know what I said. I said, I'm having a feeling in my body. And then all of a sudden I'm getting all these images of my dead husband and memories and they're making me really sad. I said, I'm a really happy person, generally speaking. And I'm feeling like shit here. I said, so I don't get it. Like why, what is the point? And he said, without saying it this way, but what I equated it to be is the feeling and the image is tied. They're tied.
That's right.
People talk about how we bury our feelings or that, unresolved conflict or trauma, it resides in the body and it causes illness and disease. And I went, he didn't say all that, but that was my memory, my understanding. And I went, okay, dude, you should have led with that. I'm like, that would have helped me. That's kind of what I'm wondering. Okay, so I get it now. Okay, cool. So he said, well, we want you to understand that for yourself. So they don't always tell you like kind of the reason. But and again, it's different for everybody. This may not be for everyone. I just know that was how I walked away with. Because then the next 2 days when I was sitting, I started to feel more sensations then. It wasn't just surface, like, okay, I could feel a little breeze or it's a little cool on my hand because I don't have it covered. Or it started to be, I felt a tightness in my chest right here. Or I'd feel my heart pounding. Or I'd feel something tight in my stomach. Or I'd feel of course, we all have the pain in our back, right? That's sitting for that long.
Mhm.
And they say, just sit with it and observe those sensations. They call them sensations. And that they're equanimous, that they're not good or bad. One's not more important than the other. We don't want to crave one and avert the other, cravings versus aversions.
Yeah.
And so I said, okay, I'm going to sit with this sensation for a while in my back. And then all of a sudden an image came into my head. and it was something I was upset about. And I didn't focus on the image, and I just focused on the pain in my back for a couple of minutes. And all of a sudden that pain started to move and it started to subside. And I went, huh. And then all of a sudden, I went, let's try this. I went and looked, I thought about that thought again, and it didn't feel sad to me anymore. I don't know.
It's
And
beautiful.
so every time I'm thinking now after, okay, I'm feeling upset about something, something happened, and I will go, I'm going to go into meditation and I'm going to find where that pain is in my body. And I'm just going to scan and I'm just going to find all of those places. And then I'm going to see. And that is the key for me. Um, I think it's just something that I don't know. I don't want to say that's that way for everybody, but it really was such an eye-opening thing for me. And I was so grateful for that.
It's beautiful. And what is or will be eye-opening for each individual in each moment and each time they go is unique. And because we are each living our own lives. And so to set aside this time for that process is, gosh, it's an incredible gift. And I love that you mentioned that there's no um, fee for it. And at the end, and there's no pressure at the end. They're like, remember, if you got value, whatever your finances are, whatever, the table's over there. And they say it one time. and, and so people do, go over and they contribute what they have or but
Or
it's,
their time. Or their time too, because
that's right.
they had opportunities. They said that's actually even more valuable to you personally because you're donating something, but you're giving back. You're actually receiving more because of the time you're putting in, and
Yeah.
and the feeling the feeling you're getting by actually contributing. So many people were signing up for like to be like assistance or help during
Hmm.
those, and then
Yep.
also they have people that's come in and work on the grounds when they
Yes.
don't have the sessions.
A friend and I went for a big cleanup weekend once. And yeah, it was great. But to be there for 10, 11 days in that silent process, exactly as you said, you had a thought about yourself. You observed yourself in real time as it was happening. You had a complaint, you made a request. And in that space, you're like, wait, Jill, I think that we don't have that space in our normal lives. And so, this gift to ourselves of taking the time and following the process and following the schedule, what will arise is exactly what's there, exactly what's next to arise is what will come to the surface in thought and sensation, in feelings. And I went through all the boredom and judgment, judging myself, not doing it right, and blah, blah, blah. And I should be doing this and I shouldn't be doing that. And then noticing, oh, those people coughing. Oh, and why do those people always go up and talk to the teacher? This, I mean, it was just, it never stops, you and fixing and anger and boredom and judgment. I just rotated through it all. But then what I was left with was this profound stillness and gratitude and love. And I think that I'm able to more readily bring that stillness into my moment to moment everyday life. Like I'm able to tap into and access that. Just wait. And as you did in that real time, notice who you were being, notice what you just did, and notice how you do that all the time. That noticing, that stillness, that gratitude, that quiet, I've been able to bring that with me.
I love that because yeah, for me too. I know when I got back and having my phones, they give you your phones back, and I thinking my notifications, and I thought the night before I don't want to turn the phone on because it was almost like I didn't want to lose the lightness that I felt and to feel heavy and so overwhelmed again. And someone asked me this morning on a call about it. It said that I said that I just learned how to categorize it a little bit better. Like now I go on to a couple social media channels or a couple that I'm not real big on that I go on maybe twice a week. And then another one that I'll check once a day or twice a day or something. I was in such a habit of just every 5 minutes looking at it, to see what's going on. Did someone send me a note back? Did this happen? Did that happen? And I realized that I was doing that to avoid something. Whenever I'm picking up the phone, am I picking it up because I have to reach out to someone, or I'm waiting for a particular answer that I need, that's something relevant for right now? Or am I doing it to avoid something else? And I think that is an awareness that we never give ourselves the opportunity to even step back and think about, because we're moving at such a fast pace today that even at the first thing in the morning, I know they say, don't put your phone on your nightstand and all that stuff, but we all do it. Oh, I'm just going to turn a meditation on. I'm going to put a music on. And you know what? That happens. I've got notifications and I'm like, oh, shoot. Well, I better check this first. Oh, what's the weather today? Oh, okay. Well, wait a minute. I got this other promo. Oh, I forgot to send that person. We're in. Then we're
We're
done.
in, we're down. Yep.
And it's just noticing ourselves. It gave me, I think that's what I get is this now is this, it's an indicator when I'm doing something, because I think that's one thing we also get is we get so sensitive and hyper aware, and we're
Yes.
really alert. And I notice when I'm in my body, when I'm feeling a little off, like, oh, I got a tinge there in my stomach. Where's that coming from? Oh, I know, because I've been putting off this project and I just saw something on my table there that I needed to do, whatever. And so it's sort of that, oh, you know what would be easier? Let me just look at my text real quick. Let me just check in. You see what I'm saying? So we do this thing to avoid feeling any pain or it's aversion, right? And then we
Right.
have and then this is the craving. So the aversion is averting something, avoiding something. And then we go for the craving, which is what they talk about. So what the goal is, but the intention of this practice, of this work, is to go deep inside and to deal with our aversions and our cravings. And I think it's just becoming really aware of when they show up for me and how I feel off when I'm not, I wouldn't say dealing with them, but when I'm deep in it, one way or the
Yes.
other.
And I love what you said about the phone. It reminded me actually that I didn't want my phone back either, in terms of that rush of information. I paused. I'm just like, wait, what do I actually want to let in? And I think that
Yes.
that has stayed with me. I'm like, what do I let in? And that I don't actually have to let everything that's happening in the world in. And I really used to know myself and pride myself as a person who was really up on everything that's happening in the world everywhere. And I've been able to let a lot of that go as a matter of my identity. And that I get to say what I let in. And
Yes.
that is liberating.
I it is liberating. I have the same thing as when I arrived back, that when I got my phones, that was my birthday. And so I had usually what I would have done is, looked at all the Facebooks and thank you for the birthday, blah, blah, blah. And then gone through that. That would have taken a few hours. And I just said, I really wanted who's most important to me right now. Not that other people on Facebook aren't important, but we had the different circles, our closest circles. And then, a friend wanted to meet me for coffee later. And my parents, and I wanted to call them and, because they were going to call me. And then, just, I was able to just with such laser precision, just decide where to go. And I was so worried about the feeling. I thought I would feel the same when I saw those notifications, but I went,
Mm,
oh, wow, how nice. So many people sent notes. That's really beautiful. And then I went for the first thing. Okay, this is first. This is second. And it took me a couple days to say thank you to everyone for the birthday wishes, because I didn't open social media for 3 days.
yep.
And like, when I mean that Instagram and all that. And I reached out to my team because they were working on my stuff for me while I was away. And, but for the most part, I chose powerfully what I wanted to do. And I didn't feel compelled, because a lot of times I think we've to connect with everybody that I heard from right away and to respond to all of those things and address all of those notifications or things that felt pressing in the past, which I thought was amazing. And, here's the thing. I think a lot of us think we live in a fishbowl. And if someone says, happy birthday, they're not sitting there like waiting at the phone going, God, it's been 2 days. That girl hasn't sent me thank you yet, or I shouldn't heart it or what. I think most people are not doing that. And so, but we feel like we have to respond immediately or we appear ungrateful or whatever
Yes.
we think. And I realize that's not the case. So this is, I think overall, Vipassana is something that just it kind of clears the air. It help me, um, just get so super clear. And then,
Awake,
and
alert.
yeah, and then start over and say, okay, what do I really want to have in my life? And how do I really want this to look?
That's right. What you just shared was so inspiring. And what I saw for myself that I hadn't quite seen this way was it gave me the opportunity to decide for myself or see for myself the things that I felt obligated to do are not my obligation. Like the things I've thought or felt like I had to do. Oh, I don't actually have to do that. You give yourself 10 plus days of space and being with yourself and being quiet and tuning inward. All of a sudden, all these things that I thought I was obligated to be and do, I could see that I didn't have to be and do that.
We're not that important. That's the funny thing, isn't it? We're just not that important. And it's that's beautiful. I love that you said that. That was a great way to word that. Do you feel like has it had an impact on your relationships with other people in business since you've done your first one and your other sequential ones?
You know, I think it's very hard to quantify. I just know that I feel different, that's you might think, well, why would you keep going back? Did you not get everything you wanted the first time? Yeah, it's like I did. And y- I wanted more of that stillness as not as an escape. It kind of feels good as an escape to tell you the truth, but more as an opportunity to dig deeper. What deeply lodged, entrenched resentments or like what else is in there? And so to be able to spend that quiet time meditating and tuning inward and healing and releasing, which doesn't feel good when it's coming out, it doesn't feel good. But, so I can't quantify the effect on my relationships and my business and so forth. But I would say in the last 11, 12 years, I've been a more peaceful, grounded, settled, accepting person who's able to discern for myself what's the right thing for me.
Mm.
And, there is an unapologetic aspect of going through menopause also. So the timing is beautifully aligned with the end of perimenopause and the start of the transition of menopause, where hormonally and energetically, women have an experience of, oh, I can just let a lot of stuff go. So I don't know what to attribute it to is a big hormonal change and then the change in my lifestyle of, the daily quiet that I impose upon myself through fasting and meditation. So I can't quite point to what exactly has enabled this beautiful transition, but I, I'm going through life in a quiet, aligned, energized way.
Phew. It reminds me of the word flow, which once you get through and you're doing the scanning of your body for the sensations, and after a while, when you, like I said, I had that one in my back and then it went away. And after sitting and it's shocking because it can be tough sitting that long. And when that went away, I went, okay, this is pretty cool. But then it's temporary too, because they do talk about this thing about, what's the word for it? Change. Uh, Anicca, which is the word they use, but it's impermanence is the word, and impermanence meaning nothing's permanent, nothing's forever. And so that's the point of the scanning, and this is that you see is like the pain may go away right here in the mid back, but it might show up somewhere else, and it's never to be attached to anything, to just allow. And that's what you're saying so gracefully of what you've experienced and what your outcome or what how you live today as a result of having been to 5 of these. Um, when I left, I said I would probably never go again, or I said, "This will be the last time I'll ever be at this place." Um, but, a few weeks in now, it's probably been 3 or 4 weeks since I left. I've been thinking the past couple of days, I'm like, "You know what? I could see the benefit of doing this again." And maybe it's kind of like I've never had a child, but they always say that with childbirth is that they say, I'll never have another child again. And then about, 3 weeks, a month, a couple months later, I don't know, it's like, oh, I want another one because you forget the pain. So,
Yeah.
I think that's so true. And I
Well,
could see it.
speaking of pain, it wasn't all easy breezy for me for sure. I mean, I went through a lot, but the physical, um, that on the fourth day, I think it is, there's a sit of strong determination, I think is what it's called.
Thank you for bringing that up.
OMG. I, yeah, I collapsed when that chanting started at the end and it was over and I just turned into a puddle on the mat and a weeping puddle because I really felt like that was harder. That 1 hour was harder than any marathon I ever ran. I could not believe I did it. I couldn't believe I did it. I think that was the hardest thing I've ever done. That 1 hour in that one time. And then after that, I could do it. I could sit for an hour and not move my legs and keep my hands in the same position and keep my eyes closed. After that one time, I could do it after that. But that one time, that was the hardest thing I ever did in my life. And I am so proud of myself for doing that. I just like can't even believe it.
I think that's the key. That was something for me too, is that first time I did the hour and I'm like, oh, okay, so no movement. All right. And then after that, it's like when they'd say, oh, we're going to be doing this 15 more times, I equated 15 more times to look at the schedule. I'm like, oh, we do 3 of these group meetings a day and there's got, 7 more days, whatever it was. And I did the math. I'm like, oh, it's 15 more times. But I said, after the first one, I did it. Okay. And then if they'd say an hour, I'm like, an hour, no problem. I got this. Even if it sounds, it just so difficult and challenging from what we're saying, I'm telling you, you will find the strength within to do this. Your soul, your body, it craves this. I promise you. And
We are made to do hard things. We must do hard things. It's
yes, yes. And it get to a point. I started to say when we're doing that sensations in our body, is that you get to a point when the pain moves. I started to say this, I forgot. Is that at some point what happens is there's a complete flow where there's no spots that are stuck, or there's no resistance, there's no spots at all. And that is when we should say this, is that when you experience that, there is this incredible bliss and feeling of just joy and happiness and just elation. You've experienced that many times, I'm
Oh,
sure.
yes. Oh, my goodness, yes. And as you said too, in the beginning, it's just there's some people have a hard time feeling any sensations, but then it's kind of surface level. But then it's all through. It's very
Yes.
hard to put words to
It's
the
hard to put words
experience.
to,
We're
but
trying
but
our best to
yes,
explain
we are.
our
But
own
I want
unique
people to
experiences.
yeah, I just want people to see that there is an outcome. It's not all pain, because in the end, once you're
Yes.
hearing, I know people talk about blockages and all these different things in different ways, energy blockages or whatever it might be, somatic healing. I think these things are all coming at the same type of thing, or the outcome is what they're saying. But in this, again, it's this rapid, like 10 days. It's tough, but when you come out of it, it's like, I did it. I did 10 days of silence. Now, I will say too, is the silence again wasn't the hard part. It's just that not just having to sit with yourself.
Yeah.
Just having
And
to know
there's no
yourself.
dogma, there's no religious belief. You
No.
can be of any religious denomination or spiritual belief or none, and you are there with you.
Mhm, mhm. I will say one other thing too is that for me, another thing that hit me was we were talking about just the various things I got on day 8 or so, maybe day 8 or day 9. This just overwhelming sense when I had that flow, and I was just like tears were coming down my eyes, and before that happened, it was like the last thing is this overwhelming feeling of forgiveness. And it wasn't
Incredible.
for those who've hurt me. And I've been in retreats where I've forgiven people, and you scream in a pillow, you do different things in different types of ways. And that's worked. But this was me seeing the people that I've hurt. And I just felt this sense of compassion. It was different. It wasn't like I was beating myself up. It was more of this awareness of the fact that I
Soft.
have hurt people, and that I just said, I am so sorry. And I see. And I think what I achieved was this feeling of oneness with humanity, is this oneness where that we're no different and we all are the same. And that was really, I was always been wanting to be my out as an idea or an ideal that I have. Um, but I just saw, wow. And it, again, it wasn't the things that I've done and forgiving myself, but it was deeper than that. I can't explain it other than just it felt just this like warmth and love and compassion for people.
It's
And
like a living manifestation of the Ho'oponopono prayer. I mean, it's just the way you just described that. It came in an unexpected, almost nearly indescribable experience. Wow.
yes. Yeah. Well, this has been great. I'm trying to see if there's anything else that we should cover. There really aren't a lot of resources. There is the website. I'll have all the links here, and also how to reach Laurie, because Laurie has, if you haven't seen the video from last week, definitely check it out if you want to know more about intermittent fasting. I just broke my fast. I did my coffee. So I learned something from you last week, and I've been practicing that. So many great tips there. And we'll if you have more questions about Vipassana, we'll both be on hand and YouTube, and also we'll be posting on our social channels. So if you want to ask questions there, reach out to us. We're happy to help for sure. But I think it's definitely worth it. I will say, when I walked away, like I said, I wanted to leave so many times, but when I left, I said, I'm so glad I went.
So glad I went.
Yeah. And grateful for all those volunteers. And I want to thank all the volunteers, for the people that helped me, for my teacher, Ariel, and for Jonathan, who walked me through it. And Yamina, who was the in charge of helping the women. And even though I wrote and wasn't supposed to, I'm sorry for that. And I killed a lot of mosquitoes, and I wasn't supposed to kill any living being. And so I'm sorry for that. And I'm just kidding. But there were so many beautiful things that happened out of that. And I just met so many beautiful women too, that we got to talk the last day and made so many great connections. So I look forward to staying engaged in the community.
Thank you for inviting me to talk about this. It's been a while since I've been, and it's just exhilarating to reflect back. And I really hope someone's inspired to go, and we can make a difference for someone.
It really heals our suffering. It really is a way to heal your suffering and to,
Yes.
you know, see a side of yourself. So be brave, women. I know you can do it. Gosh, if I tell you, if I can do it, you guys can do it. It's yeah.
I'm with you.
All right. Well, thanks everyone for joining. I hope you do like, share, and subscribe to this channel. We are really making some great headway, and it's really taking off. And I thank you all for the support. And we're going to continue to bring more amazing, exciting women and interviews and men to talk about all things midlife. So stay tuned. Thanks, Laurie, for being here today.
Thank you, Jill.